Hi, I'm Barbara Wainwright, the CEO and founder of Wainwright Global Institute of Professional Coaching. And today I am here with David Riklan. I'm very excited about that. David Riklan is the founder of selfgrowth.com, one of the top self-improvement websites on the internet, receiving over 100 million unique visitors since it was created. He is also the co-founder of the Joint Venture Directory, a top resource for finding joint ventures, affiliates, and partnerships in the self-improvement industry. He's the author, coach, and speaker, and published over 10 books on self-improvement, health, marketing, and sales. And two of his books, Mastering the World of Selling and Mastering the World of Marketing, were published through one of the top publishing companies in the world, John Wiley Sons. Today, I'm going to talk to David about joint ventures. You may be wondering what a joint venture is. It's all good. David's going to share with us how to use joint ventures, partnerships, and cross-promotion to get more coaching clients and generate more income. So let's start with the easy question. What is a joint venture?
We're going to start with a very simple definition. Traditionally, out in the real, what I call the real world, a joint venture is when two big companies are working together and they create another third company. But in what I describe as our world, coaches, authors, speakers, and healers, a joint venture is a simpler concept. It's anytime two companies or two people are working together to support each other to mutually grow their businesses. And that could take a wide range and manifest itself in a wide range of ways, including a simple might be, I recommend you to my audience and you recommend me to your audience, where we're working together to support each other to grow the business. So at the simplest level, it's two people working together to help support each other to grow their business.
I love it. I like that simple explanation. We're helping each other out.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'd love to hear how you got involved with joint ventures. How did you get started doing that?
I fell into it literally, and I'm going to take you back to what really inspired me. I went full-time with my business in 20 years ago, in 2003, literally 20 years ago.
Wow.
And at the point, I had a small web business. It was a side business, and I quit my corporate job. And I remember sitting in an office, and I had to figure out, how am I going to build this into a full-time job? How am I going to be able to generate income? And I had this idea of writing, and then selling a book.
Nice.
So I wrote my first book. It was called Self-Improvement, the Top 101 Experts Who Help Us Improve Our Lives.
Nice.
It was a big book. It was almost like a mini encyclopedia. And I wrote this book, and I had it as a PDF on my computer.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a PDF, and I was thinking to myself, how am I going to turn this into money? How am I going to sell a lot of copies of this book? And I borrowed an idea that I saw some other people doing. It was a very simple concept. We were going to do a one-day promotion for the book.
Oh, wow.
And in that one day, I was going to have a special deal. If you buy the book today, not only you get the book, you get a bunch of other stuff. And the concept was simple in terms of the use of partnerships. I was going to mail. I had a small email list myself at the time. I was going to mail. And I had a few friends who were also going to promote it. And at the time, I said, all right, we'll get a few books out. But I had a bigger vision in my mind.
Okay.
And I was thinking outside the box. I said, who do I know that could recommend this book that can help me promote it?
Right.
One of the people I was a big fan of at the time, his name was Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn is known as the coach's coach. Tony Robbins learned from him. Brian Tracy learned from him. He was a major player for many, many years. He's passed now. And at that point, I was a big fan of Jim Rohn. And over the last couple of years, at that point, I was recommending Jim whenever I could. Nice. So I liked his products. So I had a website. So I'd publish his articles on my website. I had a small email newsletter. So periodically, I would send a shout out saying, I love Jim Rohn. Here's his newest product. Make sure you buy it. He's doing good stuff. But I was doing it on a relatively small level. Yeah, I didn't have a tremendous following, but I was doing it. I was supporting it. So I had in my head, who can I reach out to? So my contact at Jim Rohn's organization was Kyle Wilson. Okay. So I reached out to Kyle, and I sent him in a quick email. I said, Kyle, I've loved Jim Rohn's stuff. I've been a big supporter of his. Is there any way he could recommend my book?
My gosh.
And I got an email back from him and it said, David, you've been supporting us literally for years. You never asked for anything. You promoted us in your newsletter. You've been promoting us on your website for several years. Jim would be happy to support you.
Oh my gosh.
And I was amazed.
Yeah.
Little did I know that I'd been spending this time building up relationship capital to develop a relationship with Jim Rohn. So Jim Rohn agreed to promote it. And I got a few other people to promote it. The day came where we were going to promote the book. And we had a target. We were going to do all these sales in one day. In one day, with the help of Jim Rohn and some other people, we were able to sell over $100,000 worth of that ebook. Over 4,000 copies in one day.
Oh my goodness.
In one day. And I was just blown away. I'm like, this is crazy. We had 4,000 new customers spending $100,000 in that one day. Wow. And it was all because of a partnership that I had been planting the seeds on literally for years, unbeknownst to me.
Amazing.
And I was in shock. I was like, this is great. And the light bulb went off and I said, you know what? Partnerships are the way to go. And the partnerships are very simple. I was supporting and recommending him for a long time at that point, and he recommended and supported me. And ever since then, I've been sold on the value of joint ventures and partnerships.
I love it. That's so crazy. And I don't know, what a gift but first of all, you were gifting a lot with Jim. So it was very reciprocal, which is really great. You know, I love that. I love hearing that. So how can somebody benefit from a joint venture?
Let's step you back. There's a lot of potential benefits to joint venture. So all of us who are in business. We're coaches, we're speakers, we're healers, we have products that we're selling.
Right.
What do we want to do? We want to do really two main things. One, we want to get out in front of a larger audience.
True.
And the other thing we want to do is, by virtue of getting out in a larger audience, we want to sell our products and services. Those are really the two core things that we want to do. And we want to, and that's how we grow our business. So some of the things that you could potentially looking for in a joint venture is someone to help support you by sending an email to their list.
Yes.
Like Jim Rohn did for me. He sent an email to his list. You might also be looking for people who would recommend you on social media.
Yes.
Literally a quick shout out. You got to check out what Barbara's doing. We got to check out what Jennifer's doing. And it could be on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or Pinterest, and the list goes on and on. Yes. So people promote you through social media, or could be someone who just links back to you and promotes you on their website. Yeah. So those are some core things. Yeah. But there's a lot of other things that people can do for you. And what I'm going to suggest people do, or listening to this, is jot down some of these as I go through them. Yeah, and jot down the ones that would be a benefit for you. So I mentioned people, email, social media, and website promotion. Those are kind of core to start. But another one that I love is just simple referrals. And what do I mean by that? I mean an introduction. It could be an email introduction. I could be introducing someone to you, Barbara. You introduce someone to me. It could be literally one person that I know that I think you should connect with. And I say, please connect with Barbara, or please connect with Jennifer, or please connect with Richard, whoever it is. A simple email introduction, because sometimes those are really powerful. So a referral.
Yes.
Sometimes people might have a podcast or a summit. And what can they do for you? They can put you on their podcast or their summit. Sometimes you might find someone you're jointly creating a product or a program with. Or if you have a referral program, an affiliate program, someone promoting that for you, or someone to brainstorm with or mastermind, or literally someone who has a service that they could help you with.
Yes.
So there's a wide range of things that people can support you with that are part of a joint venture. But here's the key piece of the puzzle. What makes it a joint venture is there's mutual benefit. So I just came up with a list of things that people can do to support you. In order to get people to support you, you need to have clarity on what you can do to support them. And it's really critical. And what I found, and one of the kind of the laws of joint ventures and partnerships, is we found the more you can do for other people, the
Right.
better you can support them, the more they're going to be willing to support you. And some people call it kind of the law of reciprocity.
Love it. I've heard that.
It's a very simple concept. The more you do for somebody, the more compelled they are to do something for you.
Yep.
So it's
I agree.
really, it becomes a matter of understanding first what you're looking for help with, and then equally important, figuring out how you can support other people.
I love it. Being of service, I think is so important always anyway. So what do you need to do to get started with a joint venture?
All right, so let's get started. Let's figure out what you need to do to get started. So
Okay.
there's a few things. One of the things I recommend is you need a product or service that you want to sell or promote. So it's always good to have a product or service.
Yes.
Most everybody listening here are coaches or might have some coach-related product or service. So step one, have a product or service, and ideally you want a good product or service.
Yes.
and you want to feel confident in selling your product and service.
Yes.
The next thing you need is some way to sell people on using or purchasing your product and service. And some people call this a sales funnel.
Okay.
And it's just, you need some way to convince someone who's a potential prospect to purchase it. And it could be something as simple as you're doing a phone call with someone.
Yes. Yes.
It could be something that simple where you're literally doing a phone call or emailing back and forth, or you could be doing a webinar, or you could be doing a summit, or you can, there's a whole bunch of systems and approaches, but you need some way to take someone who's a prospect. And the third piece of the puzzle is very simple. You need to have an audience of potential prospects who would buy your product and service. Those are really the 3-4 things that you need. Once you have those 3 things in place, the next step is you need to identify people you want to partner with.
Okay.
Okay, so you need to understand who you want to partner with. And there's a few very simple rules. The goal of you, remember, is to figure out how to get assistance getting in front of your target audience.
Okay.
So you need to figure out who is your target audience.
Mm-hmm.
And some people use a description, the word avatar. I don't know.
Yeah.
If
I've
one
heard
that
that.
you use.
Customer avatar. Yes.
Customer avatars, who's your ideal audience?
Yes.
So an example of a customer avatar could be women in their 50s and 60s who like to meditate.
Oh, okay.
Another potential avatar could be young men in their 20s, just graduated from college, that are trying to get their footing in a new career. So you need to figure out your quote unquote, your customer avatar, who's going to purchase it, who's going to purchase your product and service.
Yes.
And then you need to start identifying other people that have a similar avatar or who can get you in front of that audience.
I love it. Yeah.
That's really the key. And I recommend doing this on a very simple level. Literally create a spreadsheet and start jotting down in the spreadsheet the names and email addresses of people that you know that have a similar audience.
Nice.
Step one, figure a similar audience. And then you can build on that. You can add to the spreadsheet and you can search on Google for keywords. You know, if your keywords is moms and meditation, whatever it is, you start searching those and adding more people. And then you can see who has a big Facebook following,
Yeah.
you know, who's doing the podcast, who's doing all these things. Start adding all these people to the spreadsheet because these are all people that can get you in front of your target audience.
Right, right.
And then once you develop this target audience, and it could be your first 5 people, you need to have clarity on what you bring to the table. This is really important.
Yes.
Because the reason being, if I approach someone without being anything to the table, they're going to be like, why should we help you?
Yeah.
You know, what's the benefit of helping you? So there's a few things that you can bring to the table. If you already have an email list or social media reach or website traffic, that's something that you can bring to the table, and you can use your following to promote them in exchange for them using their following to support you. Very simple.
Yes.
But with that said, there's a lot of other things that you can potentially do to help them. An example is you might be able to give them a personal referral, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that you might be looking for from them, they could be looking for from you. So it might not be a big email list, but you might know someone that would be a good referral for them.
Right,
even
right.
one or two really key people
Yeah.
that could help them. Or you might have a podcast, or a real simple, if you have a Facebook page, literally with 100 people that are your friends, you have the ability to interview them on Facebook Live about whatever it is they do. So you
Love
need
it.
to really get some clarity on what value you bring to the table. And one of the approaches that I recommend as you're doing this is to figure out whoever you're working with, how can you help them? And here's another thing you could potentially bring to the table. You might have some expertise. So a lot of people are coaches. You might have some particular expertise that you can help them with.
Yes.
Or you might have a referral program or something called an affiliate program where if they recommend you, you can pay them a commission.
Yes, yes.
So you can offer them a commission in exchange for them promoting. So those are some of the key ways. There's a lot more. We can get into some of those in a little bit, but those are some of the key ways to really get started with joint ventures.
I love that. I love that. So what, in your opinion, what would be the most important thing to know about doing a joint venture?
There's a few really important things to know. One, and I've covered some of these, but let's just refocus. So one, what you're looking for.
Okay.
What value you're looking for. Very, very important going in. What value you're looking for. What value you can provide. The second thing is the value you can provide. And the third piece of the puzzle is, who is your ideal partner? So, and let me put this, let me spell this out a little bit. So some people think their ideal partner is someone with a massive list and a huge following. Like for me, I have some people on my dream list, and that's Anthony Robbins promoting me, Brendan Burchard promoting me,
Yes.
Oprah promoting me. So these are people that are on my dream list. And I definitely have people on my dream list, but I have a lot more people that are on a more practical level, more ideal partners. And they're people that are in a similar position that I'm in.
Nice. Gotcha.
So they can provide similar value to me. And what I like about getting started with these people is they're more likely to say yes and be willing to support you.
True.
And then as your business grows, you can grow and find more valuable partners and people with bigger lists and people who can help you more.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. So can you use joint ventures to get speaking opportunities and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. So we were talking about using joint ventures just to get business in general and support.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things and one of the ways that's very valuable to get the word out on what you're doing is to speak. And yeah, I know you speak all the time.
Yes, yes.
And you speak on where are some of the places? I know you speak on summits and webinars and podcasts. What are some of the places you speak?
That's true. And I have a Facebook Live that I do Monday through Friday, and I have a podcast out there as well. So yeah, I love it. I love sharing information and knowledge and helping people to grow and find their path, their passion.
Yep. So speaking is great because it gets you out in front of a larger audience.
Yes.
And that's the key. You want to get in front of a larger audience and eventually get them in your quote unquote sales funnel. That's the goal.
Ultimate.
It's all well and good to be famous, but if they're not going into your sales funnel, they're never going to become clients.
Right, right.
So you need to have that system we talked about earlier. That's going to be very, very important.
Yes.
So one of the things I recommend is to get speaking opportunities. And we mentioned some of them. Podcasts are great. There's summits going on all the time. You can speak. People do webinars all the time. Your Facebook Lives is a wide range.
Yes.
So let's start with podcasts.
Okay.
Podcasts are great. You figure out what niches they are, and you figure out how to be a guest. But let's take a look at the concept. So the first step of this is very simple. You need to find the podcast. So you can go to iTunes or Google and search for the podcast with your keywords.
Nice.
Once you find the podcast, you need to figure out, how are you going to get on and, how's this going to work? So a question a lot of people ask me is, why is this considered a joint venture?
Okay.
And it's a very simple concept. It's an exchange of value. So what's the value that they're bringing? They're helping you get out in front of a larger audience. So that's massive value.
Right, right.
So there's obvious value. What's the value you're bringing to the table? The value you're bringing to the table at a minimum is good content and a good story.
Yes, yes.
So I want you to keep that in mind. We all have expertise, and hopefully we all can come up with a couple of good stories.
Yes.
You can find your own Jim Rohn story. We all need a couple of good stories.
Yes.
So at a minimum, it's an exchange of value, starting with good content and a good story. But with that said, you need to think through, if you want to get on these podcasts, what other value can I bring to the table for this podcast?
Yes.
So what does a podcast host want? Well, the first thing they want is more people listening to their podcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So anytime you can start with, love your podcast, I'd be happy to promote you by email, social media, link back to you, any of those things, you're providing additional value for them.
That's fabulous. Fabulous. Yes.
Some of the other things we talked about, you might have connections for them. You might be able to introduce them to someone who will be a great guest
Yes.
on their podcast,
Excellent.
which could be of enormous value.
Yes.
You know, introducing a potential guest. And another thing that I love in terms of podcasts and just speaking is anytime you can reward your host, whether it's a summit host, a podcast host, a webinar host, you can reward them by paying them.
Oh, yeah.
By paying them in some way. They'd be very happy to get that benefit.
Yeah.
So how can that potentially work? Let me put an idea out there. You're a coach.
Okay.
If you're a coach, you can explain to them any clients that find you through you speaking on their podcast, you will give them a bonus check.
Oh,
it could be something as simple as I'll give you $100 gift certificate.
yes.
Or I'll give you 10% of whatever my coaching fee is.
Nice.
So you need to understand the value and a couple of things, especially if you want to be on a podcast. Just a quick suggestion. So one of the things I recommend in this whole joint venture world is always start with value.
Yes.
When you're reaching out to people.
That's good.
Comes back to this law of reciprocity. The more you're supporting people, the more they support you. So podcast, how do you start with value? I recommend before you reach out to a podcast host,
okay,
check out their podcast, obviously, make sure it's a good fit, and listen to at least one podcast. Please don't send out a generic email about the podcast. Dear, fill in your name. You know, I listen to your wonderful podcast and I think I'm a great fit. Here's my info.
Right. It's so true.
Listen to the podcast and then send them an email saying, hi, Barbara, I just listened to your podcast that discussed all the different coaching niches that are available. I found it hugely valuable. I love your podcast so much. On iTunes, I gave it a 5-star review. I gave it a five stars and I wrote a review on iTunes for you.
That's value right there.
And here's a copy of the review that I posted.
Nice. So evidence.
Here's a copy of the review. So the first thing they know about you is you provided them value ahead of time before asking for anything. So what's going to happen? First, they're much more likely to read your email.
Yes, for sure.
Because you just helped them. You've supported them. And then after that, you can continue with, a little bit about what you do and how you support podcast hosts.
I love it.
Really, really powerful. So this is a kind of an in and an easier way to, and this works with podcasts and summits and webinars. Always figure out what value you bring to the table.
That's so brilliant. What a great way to get started as a speaker out in the industry. And podcasts are great because typically you don't have to get on camera, which is frightening for a lot of people. It was for me when I started. And so you're just speaking and talking your truth, and you don't have to look anybody in the eyes or worry about what you look like on camera. It's really a great way to go. Oh my gosh. So thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you've shared so far. I would like to know what you would say would be the next best step for people that are listening and now they're excited about now becoming either an affiliate and helping somebody else out, or they're excited about getting into joint ventures with people. What would be their next best step?
Okay. Hopefully at this point, you've done a few things. So you started developing this master spreadsheet or list.
Yes.
And at this point, also put your bigger players on there. Put them on the list. Okay, so you're building this, and this is a list that you continue building your whole career. That never stops. And then you've identified some of the things that you're looking for. You've identified what value you bring to the table. And ideally, you've identified who what I describe as low-hanging fruit, who the ideal partners you have for you.
Got it.
So the next step is to figure out how to get in front of these ideal partners. So one, if you have their emails, connections, just start. Work up your email, always personalize it. I don't care who you're writing to, always personalize it. Make it clear whether it's a podcast host or someone that you just found on Facebook that you've checked them out and know what they do. Work up a nice, simple email with the goal being to schedule a call to discuss how you can work together. And in that email, always make sure you put some information on what you bring to the table.
Yes.
What you bring to, very, very important, what you bring to the table.
Yes.
And one of the things I recommend is go to places where you can find multiple potential partners at the same time. And with that said, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a plug. So one of the things you mentioned earlier, Barbara, is we run a community called the Joint Venture Directory.
Yes.
And the Joint Venture Directory is a community of over 1,200, close to 1,400 members that are all in the broad self-improvement industry. So they're coaches, authors, speakers, healers, experts, marketers, all in health or finances or relationships or business skills or spirituality, all looking to support each other.
I love that.
And what we do every month is we have 2 live networking events where we're consistently getting between 100 to 150 business owners that are all joining together to network to find potential partners. And one of the things that we've worked out with Barbara is an invitation. We have a complimentary ticket to come to one of our upcoming networking events. And I think you have a special link that you're going to be giving out.
Yes, I'll be
Don't
sharing.
know if you're going to be saying it or where you're going to be sharing it.
I'm
But
going to
Barbara-
share it in the email. I'm going to send out an email to everybody just so you know that you'll be receiving this. You probably already did. You'll get the link is going to be right below this video in the email.
Okay. So you want to come to one of our events.
Yes.
It's complimentary, but it's a great opportunity to literally in a couple of hours walk away with some high quality contacts
True.
that you can start partnering with right away.
That's so true. I just got to interrupt and say have attended a lot of networking meetings, as you can imagine. And this is the best format, the best group of people that I've ever had the pleasure of networking with. So my hat is off to you, like kudos to you for attracting the most amazing people in the world to you for starters and bringing them all together in the same room. And so many people show up, like you said, and they're so amazing. They're so wonderful. They're so heart-centered. It's like, wow, it's a true gift that you've created for people that want to tap into, you know, a very welcoming and warm community of people that want to do business together.
Yes, yes.
I love
Well,
it.
thank you. Thank you for that wonderful feedback. And one of the things I want to suggest also, so there are some people that are listening to the call that expert networkers, they love the networking, it's great. And then on the flip side, there's some people that are more introverted, they're not that comfortable on a call like that. What I'm going to suggest, if you haven't done a lot of networking calls, come to one, just listen in, see what we're doing.
Yes.
See what we're doing. And we have 2 sections in each of the networking events. One is what I call small group breakout sessions, where we have 6 to 8 people, and they're all sharing. You get a chance to share for a few minutes and see how you can support each other. It's a very comfortable, supportive environment.
Really?
In the second half, we give you a chance to speak in front of a much larger group. But if you haven't done this before, sign up, check it out. You can listen in if you want to get started. Very, very simple, and feel it out and see what the best approach is.
I love that, you know, because I know there's a lot of people that's in the meetings that I've attended. There's a lot of people that are off camera. They're not ready yet. That's okay. It's okay. And there's some people, like you said, they don't talk. They say, oh, I'm just here to observe. And it's okay, you know? So I love it. Everybody's so welcoming. And that's the beautiful part about it. You know, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you're welcome.
Exactly.
Yeah, so beautiful. Well, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to share before we wrap this up.
Uh, one other thing. One other thing. In order for any of this to work, you need to get started.
Yes, take that
You
first
need to
step.
get started. Take that. I gave you a series of steps. Take
Yes,
one step today.
excellent.
Wherever you are, take the next step. So if you haven't done anything, get yourself a Google sheet or an Excel spreadsheet and start making a list of potential partners.
Love it.
Whatever the next step in the process is, take one step, literally, like today, take 10 minutes,
Yes,
10 minutes and start with that first step and don't forget, sign up for our upcoming networking event.
absolutely. That's so great. I mean, that's exactly it. You have to take that first step. So you're encouraged to do that here and now. Thank you very much, David.
You're welcome.
All right. And well, everybody, until next time, we'll see you. Don't forget, make the list, get out there, figure out what your value is, who your customer avatar is, who the best people are to network with, and start doing some Google searches, find people. But if you want to make a shortcut, come to a networking meeting with the JB directory. You will not regret it. In fact, I believe you'll be pleasantly surprised at what you find there. All right. Thanks, David.
You're welcome.